Hi everyone, this is our second lecture on the case study of blocking and the non-blocking assignment statement. In this lecture, we're going to talk about the effect of delay on both. So stay tuned with me till the end. Let's get started about with the effect of delay on our blocking assignment statement. Suppose there is a delay that's going to happen in our blocking statement. So the delay, it is generally being defined in the two main types, that is the inertial delay and the transport delay. First understand it, what is an inertial delay. The basic meaning of the inertial delay is that if there is some glitch happened here, it will simply not propagate to the output. Let's understand it with an example here. Suppose we have a buffer and the buffer has a delay of the 10 nanosecond and we are applying a input. Let's divide it with the time step. It is 10, it is 20, here it is 30 and 40. So according to the inertial delay, all those delays that has the value less than the gate delay, so that thing will not propagate to the output. So all those glitches are simply being eliminated in our inertial delay. So we got the output as simply a time step. Here the 10, 20, 30 and from 40 it will start, because we got a delay of 10 nanosecond. So this glitch, it will not propagate to the output. This is called our inertial delay. And in simple terms, our transport delay is that the gate, it will propagate all those glitches and all those minor changes that happen in our input. For that same, we got the output as here the 10, 20, 30 and here 40. So here you can see that the glitch, it will propagate to the output. So this is our inertial delay and this is our transport delay. Let's understand the effect of the delay on our blocking statement. So I took the same example that we are using in our previous lecture on the blocking and the non-blocking statement. So here you can see the module name is the sequential, because we are taking this sequential execution of this statement and taking this two input and output. So inside our always block, we are defining our inertial delay and we are putting the value of input to y1 and y1 to y2 with the inertial delay of 5. And also about the transport delay, on the same blocking statement, the transport delay of the input goes to y1 and y1 goes to y2. So here this is our inertial delay we are defining, and we are defining our transport delay. So let's understand it, how they're gonna work on the hardware. So it's actually like our input that is going in our hardware, that is going here, and there is a clock, the flip-flop output. Actually this is how it works. Our delay of 5 here, our delay of 5 here. And for our transport delay, this is the delay of our flip-flop, or if we are using any gate for the combination circuit. So now let's understand it with this waveform here. So firstly about the inertial delay, as we know, our clock, it has a period of 20 and input is changing on the 5 nanosecond. So our output y1, as according to our question, if there is no delay, our output will be get on the positive edge of clock. But here we got a delay of 5 nanosecond. So after that 5 nanosecond, our y1 goes high. And similarly our y2, it goes after 10 nanosecond. This thing we actually talk about in our previous lecture on the blocking statement. It is goes high on the next positive edge of clock, and here comes the problem. So for the sequential circuit, on the positive edge of clock, our input is low. What we get is that we got the output as low. This is what we are actually expected. but this is not the case that is going to work here, because for the each flip-flop there is a setup and the hold time, and we are adding this delay in our clock part. It will cause a violation here, and we got the output as the high. You can easily check that on your own simulator also. So that's why I put here the question mark. Is it correct? No, it is not correct here, because what we are expected is that we want our y1 as the low, but we get a y as the high. So that's why I put a question mark, that this is not the actual thing we want here, and the stimulus goes to our y2. So now let's understand the simulation of our transport delay. So for the transport delay, we got the same input and the same clock, but we get the output y1 as it is high on our first positive edge of clock after a delay of 5 nanosecond, and it goes low on the next positive edge of clock after the 5 nanosecond. So it works perfectly fine for our transport delay as the y1, and similarly our y2, it will work after that y1 that will updated but adding the delay of 5. So we got our y2 as with a delay of 5, and similarly it will shift 5 nanosecond after that y1. So the transport delay, it works fine when we are using our sequential circuits. About this test bench, this is test bench. Let me erase the circuit so to get better clarification about the test bench. Now you can check that out of the same our initial delay and the transport delay and this test bench on your own software that you are using, or also on the EDA Playground. So about the test bench, I'm just taking its name stimuli and giving regwire and just installation this part, this module, and applying a clock that is changing after 10 nanosecond, and just giving a few of the stimuli here with the different input that is being changed on the different time interval. Like our input is 0 initially, after that 5 nanosecond it becomes 1, after 5 or 15 20 it becomes 0, and this thing goes on. And this initial delay we're using to check out is and to display our simulation on the output of the waveform, and finally dumping all those variables. So I took all those test bench part in our lecture on the procedure block and the test bench. You can go check out that also. So this is what the outcome is, that we can't use the initial delay in our sequential execution of this statement when we are using a clock here. Let's understand the delay on our non-blocking assignment statement. So first, about the delay on the non-blocking statement. So the same goes for the non-blocking statement, is that delay is initial delay and the transport delay. So we took the same example, but here we are using the non-blocking execution of the statement. So now let's think about how the things actually work on the hardware. So firstly, about the input, it goes in our first flip-flop and the output of this goes to another. Here we got a delay of 5 and the 5, here comes the clock. Here another delay of 5, because for that non-blocking statement, so for the non-blocking statement, our firstly the right hand side it will evaluate, but still our y2, as these are working in a sequential begin and end block, this will add it. And for our transport delay, it's simply like the delay of our two flip-flop 5 and 5. So about this waveform to get better understanding. So firstly, about the initial delay on our non-blocking statement. So we got our same input and clock. Here we got our output on the y1, and it goes high, high, high. But here After that 5 nanosecond, what we are expecting is we want our input to be low, but this is not going to actually work because there is a delay on our clock period and there is a violation happened here. That's why we got the output high, which is generally being not what we are expecting. So we took it as a question mark, is that this is what we really need, and similarly goes to our Y2. So understand that transport delay on our non-blocking statement. So here we got what we actually wanted. So we got a delay of 5 here for our Y1, and after that got the 0. And what we know is that in our previous lecture, the non-blocking, it will work on the next positive edge of clock. Our Y2 will update after the Y1. So we got a delay firstly, and it will work on the next positive edge of clock. So that's why we got our Y2 after this interval. So in this way it will works. So on the next positive edge of clock, input is low, our output Y1 as low. But on the next positive edge of clock, we got our Y2 as low, because the Y2 will depend on the previous value of Y1. The same stimuli we have applied and check it out. So now we got the idea about the delay, and what's the outcome is that we have to use our only and only transport delay when we have to go for our the sequential execution of our statement, whether it is blocking and non-blocking. But we're going to check out why we need the non-blocking execution of this statement when we go for our sequential circuits. Moving onwards to our concurrent execution of this statement. So now here we consider the effect of delay on our both statement, but when they are working in a concurrent way. Let's first talk about the blocking statement, and here's the two blocking statement. They are working in two always block. So according to the simulator, this two always block, it can work at any time. So let's first understand it with the waveform here. Suppose we took a clock, and here is our clock. Let's first talk about our first case, is that these two always block. So firstly we know that it is a race around condition, because the updation of the Y1 and updation of the Y2, the simulator can't understand about whether it has to update this one first or it has to update this one first. So that's why we got an error here. Suppose our Y1, it goes updated whenever we got our input. So our input we took as, this is our input we are taking. So now let's understand the Y1. So suppose if our Y1, it goes high on the first positive edge of clock, we got it high, and it is high until our next positive edge of clock and goes low. If we got update our Y1, then on the Y2 it will happen and causing an error, because it causes a race around condition here. Now let's consider the case of the non-blocking statement. So here we are using the non-blocking assignment, and here we simply got our output Y2 as it goes on the next positive edge of clock, it updates with the previous value of Y1. So we get our output on this way. So the non-blocking assignment statement, it will avoid the race around condition, and we have already know about in our previous lecture. So now the effect of the delay on both. Let's first understand about the inertial delay effect on our blocking statement. So here our blocking statement, the first Y1, as we know, the inertial delay, it will affect our Y1, and our Y1, it goes shifted by 5. But after that, on the next positive edge of clock, as we know, it causing an error again, because the delay, it adds on our clock. And similarly for the Y2 also, it causing an error because it is a race around condition. And for our non-blocking assignment statement, simply our y1, it gets shifted by 5 and it goes up here, and again it causing an error, because what we are expected is that we want output to be 0, because what we are expected, we want our output to be 0, but what we get is that we got the high output, as this is, we code it in an question mark here, because we already know about that the inertial delay, it will cause our violation of the flip-flop, and the similar goes to our y2, it causes our violation. We can't use our inertial delay in the two always block that are working in the parallel way, but we are using the same variable. So the concurrent assignment of the statement is not possible in our initial delay also. So about is transport delay. So the transport delay, it works fine, and we got the similar execution of the y1 shifted by delay of 5, and y2 similarly shifted by 5 plus 5, 10 here, and also goes for our non-blocking assignment statement. So now we got the idea about is that our transport delay, they work fine whenever we are going for our any sequential execution of our circuits, and we know that the inertial delay, it works fine when we go for its combination circuits. Less understanding about its combination circuit execution. So for the combination circuit, I took an example of a simple buffer here, and we are taking its delay as 10 nanosecond. So firstly, about the blocking statement. Here we got our input, and it simply goes to a buffer, and with the blocking statement we got the same output, and this similar goes to our non-blocking delay. But now let's understand and adding the initial delay in our buffer circuit. So here if we are adding an initial delay, the buffer, if the delay is less than our delay of the gate, it simply eliminate that, and we got our output as shown here. So now you can see is that there is just a delay of 5 on the initial part, and also for the non-blocking execution, it works in a similar way, because if we are taking the transport delay of the non-blocking assignment, this glitch, it will generally being passed to our output, which we generally don't want it if there is a glitch here. So that's why it's preferable to use our inertial delay when we go for our combination logic circuit, and the transport delay when we go for the sequential execution of our sequential circuits.